The Moto Z series has undergone an identity crisis over the last 4 years. What used to be Motorola's showcase for flagship tier hardware has since shifted focus to the mid-range sector, a strategy that seems to be working since the company finally turned its first profit since being sold to Lenovo back in 2014. It's no secret that the Moto G series is the company's bread and butter these days, but the Moto Z4 has me fairly convinced that Motorola may be completely done with the upper end space. Or maybe just that it should be. If you've seen any Moto Z phone in the last 4 years, you already know exactly what the Z4 looks like. It has the same design and roughly the same dimensions as its predecessors, and that's out of necessity to continue support for the magnetic Moto Mod attachments. Motorola only promised 3 years of support when it first announced Moto Mods back in 2016, so it's great to see them go above and beyond here, but the newly rounded backing means that there's an annoying gap between the phone and most mods, including the 360 camera mod that for some reason comes in the box with certain bundles. Still, I kind of like that Motorola is sticking with what makes it unique. With Moto Mods, you can instantly attach a bigger battery, or a better speaker, or even a 5G modem to gain access to Verizon's ultra-wideband network. More on that in a sec. The speaker grill has been moved to the top of the phone, and new to the Moto Z4 is the return of the Headphone Jack for all of you wired listeners out there. What I love about the Z4 is its 6.4-inch OLED display, which takes up almost the entirety of the phone's face, obstructed only by a tiny teardrop notch. It's big and it's vibrant, and it finally gets rid of that Motorola logo on the front of the phone, but it's not terribly bright, and I struggled with using this phone in broad daylight. What I don't love is the in-display fingerprint sensor, which is slow and just frustrating to use, and I wish Motorola would have stuck with the side-mounted reader from the Z3. On the bright side, the Moto Z4 has the biggest battery ever put in a Z series phone at 3600 mAh, and it shows. I wouldn't quite call this a 2-day phone, but I rarely went to bed with less than 30% remaining, which is a lot more than I can say about my Pixel 3. Software is also great on the Z4. It's the same bare-bones Android experience we're used to seeing from Motorola, with useful add-ons like the double twist and double chop gestures for launching the camera and flashlight respectively. I wish I could say the same about performance though. Whether you're switching between apps or just typing out a text, there are way more hiccups than there should be on what in theory is perfectly capable hardware. Motorola moved back to a single camera system this year with a half-inch 48 megapixel sensor that uses pixel binning to output 12 megapixel photos. There isn't a ton of fine detail in textures like hair and wood grain, but the Z4 captures decent colors and it does a great job at preserving the highlights in most shots. There's also a new night vision mode that emulates what the Pixel does with night sight, and to my surprise, it actually does a pretty good job. So here's the real kicker. The Moto Z4 costs $500 retail. That's $100 more than the Pixel 3a, which takes better photos and has years of guaranteed software support, though in the Z4's defense, it has twice the storage and a much larger battery. For that kind of money, I have a pretty hard time recommending the Z4 to most people, unless you're a new customer coming to Verizon, in which case you can get the phone for just $240 on discount. You'll also get $150 off of the 5G Moto Mod, making this an extremely affordable 5G phone at just $440 combined. If you live in Chicago or Minneapolis, where Verizon has already soft-launched its 5G network, this might not be such a bad deal. But for everyone else, your money is probably better spent elsewhere. You just got the condensed version, but if you want to read our full thoughts on the Moto Z4, check out our written review over at androidcentral.com. You can also subscribe before you go so you don't miss when we upload new videos, which is getting to be pretty often these days. And until next time, thanks for watching.